So today I'm going to share with you guys a filmmaking tip that changed my career. Back in early 2023, I was working an in-house media job, and while it was stable, it was not quite exactly what I had pictured doing with my career. When I was 12 years old, I had seen the movie Super 8 at a midnight showing at City Walk in IMAX, and I knew from that point on, all I wanted to do for the rest of my life was to make films. At 15, I got my first on-set job, and then for the last decade, that is pretty much all I have spent my entire life doing. So while working that in-house media job, I grew my skill set in a lot of ways that I'm thankful for, but like I said, I didn't really have any work that I felt like I wanted to put my name on that was solely mine or that I was proud of. I was honestly starting to lose that spark that I felt when I was 12 years old. So in May of 2023, I was sitting in my favorite restaurant with my mom and my wife, and I remember just talking to them and telling them that I kind of wanted my situation to be different. I had spent so many years helping other people achieve their vision, while at the same time I had kind of lost my own. All of this changed when I decided I was going to make my very own passion project, or spec project as some people call it. A spec project is basically a speculative project that is not commissioned by a brand, but it's commissioned by the filmmaker to kind of showcase their skill set. I knew nobody was going to come knocking on my door asking me to make projects for them if I hadn't shown that I was able to do something on my own. To be honest, at first it did feel daunting, but I decided I wanted to just chase that feeling that I felt when I was 12 years old, where I would just go out and make film projects with my friends. So the results of this project have quite literally been career-changing. First off, what it did for my confidence as just a filmmaker and a person in general, it gave me something that I was proud of and that was tangible and that I could point to and say, oh, this is something that I can do. Like I said, when I was 12, I started making little dumb zombie movies. And when you're young and naive, you just feel pure joy. You don't really know what a director is, what a cinematographer is. I didn't know anything about set. I didn't know anything about cameras. All I knew is that I wanted to get the idea that was in my head out of my head and onto the screen. The second way is that it has opened a bunch of really cool opportunities. I just genuinely think that it is so cool that one afternoon when I was feeling frustrated and burned out and losing all hope, I simply just talked about my frustration and then from there built a game plan as to how I would change that. And since then, I've gotten to meet a bunch of cool people, work on a bunch of cool projects, and it is cool to just look back at that conversation from 2 years ago at this point and to see what life looks like now. So to wrap it up, if you are feeling stuck and uninspired, I would highly recommend that you get out there and you just make a spec or a passion project. Nobody is going to hire you to make something if it's not in your portfolio. If you go read about any of your favorite filmmakers starting their careers, all of their careers kind of started the same way. If you go back and you look at Steven Spielberg, he made Amblin. If you look at Christopher Nolan, he made Doodlebug. If you look at Paul Thomas Anderson, he made Dirk Diggler. All these different projects that were self-funded kind of started their careers. All right, so takeaway number one is to keep it simple. For me, it's personally really easy to overcomplicate things and to have to write out this perfect idea that would take way more budget, resources, and talent than what I currently have. And so when I was writing out this running project, it actually started out as a car spec commercial, but I knew that I didn't have the money to rent out a car or a fancy rig or anything like that. I would highly recommend writing out your wildest dreams and then finding the simplest, most pure version of that dream and then executing on that dream to start, knowing that one day you'll get to do the crazy thing down the road. And then takeaway number two is to give yourself deadlines. With any project, I know I can speak for most people, you'll never truly be 100% happy, whether because of, again, time, resources, money, talent, whatever. And so I think in the early days of our careers, we need to be giving ourselves deadlines. Spending 5 years on a passion project would be great, but I think you'll get left in the dust if everything takes that long. And so for this project, I gave myself 90 days from idea to execution. And lastly, some of the best advice that I ever got from a mentor friend of mine is, if I could do it all over again, I would just pick up a camera and go crazy. I personally like to overcomplicate things, I overthink things, I need things to be perfect. But at the end of the day, when I was 12 years old, all I knew was picking up a camera and just going crazy with it. And so that's truly what I am trying to get back to. Yeah, so anyways, thanks for watching. I'm still very much in the middle of this journey. I'm at the beginning of my career in so many ways, and I'm just excited to see where things go. I know I started when I was 12 and now I'm 26, but in a lot of ways it does still just feel like I'm at the very beginning.